So Daniel and Elijah, I'm going to tell you a little bit about this study. They were interested in the effect of dog therapy in the ER. Of all the feelings that people bring into the ER, what do you think are kind of like the things that they're trying to like help tamp down with dog therapy?
Probably like anxiety and depression when being in the hospital because the hospital is filled with a bunch of negative energy, with death and sickness and illness and
Yeah. Yeah, so anxiety, depression, and Daniel, do you believe in dog therapy? Do you think there will be an effect?
Uh, I'm open-minded about it.
Yeah.
I have a hard time committing to strong beliefs about these things, but I know that it's quite popular on campuses and in other places where, especially during stressful times. So, people say that they really enjoy it. Whether
Yeah.
the outcomes would be different, I'm agnostic.
Maybe it's really things like enjoyment rather than anxiety or depression, but still maybe a positive outcome, right? Okay, so let me tell you a little bit more about the study. This is a randomized control study because they were very much interested in the causal effect of dog therapy. So patients in an Indianapolis ER were randomly assigned to receive 15 minutes of dog therapy. That's the dog condition or just business as usual. So, not every patient wanted to participate. So these are just out of the patients who wanted to participate. They were randomly assigned to a dog. To dog therapy or control condition, which is just the usual care, which is mostly just sitting there. And then 30 minutes later, they asked them about anxiety, pain, and depression. And also 90 minutes later, we're going to look at this 30 minutes later time point, and we're just going to look at anxiety reports and pain reports. And I think that was out of a scale of 10. So today we're going to try to figure out, hey, are therapy dogs helpful in the emergency room? And let's run this data. And so you'll see that this is kind of ordered already. And so if I wanted to see, hey, like maybe I don't want to see just the head of it. If I wanted to see a sample, I would just write the word sample instead of head, name a number, like, I don't know, 6. So that way I could see, oh, here's like a sample of 6 people. You could kind of see different things. You could run it a few times. But so just from looking at this tiny little snippet of data, Elijah and Daniel, can you see if there's some effect of dog therapy?
I can't exactly tell if there's a big effect based on the sample.
So you could run it a few times. But yeah, you guys are right. It's hard to kind of tell from this tiny sample. It's like we have this like tiny little lens. And really that's the problem with all of statistics, right? Like that is the problem. We don't actually even care about these 84 people. Even looking at 84 people is really seriously just a sample of the whole world of people who could end up in the ER or in other stressful, painful situations and may benefit from dog therapy. So that's truly the ultimate problem of statistics. And that's why today we're going to shift our attention not just to modeling our data, but modeling the data generating process. And notice that we're not using the word population because, especially for experiments, it's kind of hard for our students to imagine what is the true population of people getting dog therapy. Like that's kind of like not a population that exists. What we want to know is, hey, does giving somebody, boom, giving them dog therapy, does that like change the trajectory of their lives in such a way where we could detect some effect on anxiety or pain? So maybe we look at anxiety first. What's the relevant outcome and what's the relevant explanatory variable?
Yeah, so the outcome would be later anxiety, and
Mhm.
the explanatory variable would be condition.
And one of the reasons we talk about variables here, because students want to say dog, but we want to shift their attention to the variable. And then, can you guys help me write this as a word equation?
Yeah, I think it would be. later anxiety tilde condition plus extra stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
We technically say other stuff, but I'll allow you to say extra stuff. But yeah, that's the idea. And we'll sometimes write it with a equal sign, but you could put in the tilde too, because that's definitely going to help us. And I just want to make sure that you guys are vibing with my goal. Is our goal to model the effect of dog therapy on these particular 84 patients?
No,
What's our goal?
to make a prediction for a population for
Yeah.
a more, come on, English, um, more expanded group, I guess,
Yeah,
or more
it is. That's
massive.
right. It's the expanded group, the population, what we call the data generating process. Like what's happening out there, like how you change someone's anxiety. That's the process that we're really interested in. And so population, and we're also going to call it the DGP, the data generating process. Okay. So here's the trick. For today, we're not going to look at the data yet, right? Like usually after we do this, we look at a jitter plot or a scatter plot or something, and we go from there. But today we're going to be trying to model the data generating process. You with me? Can we give Elijah and Daniel a virtual hand? So you guys saw what it's like to be in the splash zone. Benjamin and Gail, would you guys be cool with being in the splash zone?
I'll try, but I don't have a lot of stats experience.
That's perfect, actually. That's exactly what I'm looking for.
All right.
Benjamin, you're okay with being in the splash zone? All right. We're going to try to develop an intuition of what significant data is. A lot of times our students walk in the door and they've kind of heard of that word, like it's significant, but they usually use it as like important or like kind of worth talking about or something like that. So we're going to try to define significant data in a way that's kind of similar to the intuitions they come in with. Significant traditionally meant stick out or is extreme in some way. All of these were generated with the random data generating process. And I'm going to tell you more about that random data generating process later. They were all generated with a random data generating process, but one of them is the real data. Is there one of these that's kind of extreme or sticks out in some way where you're like, maybe that one is the real data? And if you want to participate in the chat, put a number. Which of these 9 panels do you think is the real Slim Shady? Please stand up. And then Gail and Benjamin, you could either read off the chat or you could. Uh,
Well, 6 is the most extreme, but I don't know if that means it's the real.
I don't know if it's real, but it's definitely extreme. Yeah.
Yeah, compared to the other ones.
And what do you mean by extreme? What's extreme about it?
I'm looking
Mm,
at the magnitude of the difference.
Yeah. So you're looking at this little part right here?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you guys all see that this B1 is like kind of bigger than all the other B1s. We're like, we don't know if that's the real data, but maybe that one's at least extreme or significant in some way. Great, great. And we're actually going to come back to this later after we look at the real data. But now I want you to look at one other set of these randomly generated data. So these graphs actually depict later pain, not later anxiety. Okay. And I want to do that same exercise. Which do you think is the real data? And or maybe another way to think about it is which is the most extreme? Which is the one that's which data is significant? Which one sticks out? You could think about it as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Oh, I'm thinking 5.
5?
Mm.
And what are you looking at here?
The same, the difference between the control and the condition.
Yeah, that B1. But this time it's positive. If this really were the real data, what would What would it mean?
They have more pain?
Yeah, the people in the the average of the dog therapy group is experiencing more pain, right? Yeah, but maybe, I mean, all we're doing is they're saying, hey, does it stick out? Remember, we're trying to be open to the possibility that dogs may be bad for pain, right? Oh, so, but if we're like only looking at kind of a one-tailed hypothesis, so to speak, and we're like, it dogs have to reduce all bad things, maybe we could search differently, right?
I don't know if this question is relevant.
Hmm.
Uh,
That you could ask.
do the two sets of data correspond with one another? So does
No,
one cor okay. All
they're
right.
all randomly
All
shown.
right. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
So do we agree that this one is at least more extreme? Yeah. Okay. We agree that this one is more extreme, but maybe if you're only looking at the ones that reduced, we might have a different answer, but maybe there's no reason to do that right now. We're trying to be open. We don't know what's going to happen. Okay, we're going to come back to the real data and see if we were able to pick it out. And also, can we give a hand to Gail and Benjamin? They did they did great. Okay, so now I want to give you just a few moments to actually look at the data and find out which is the real Slim Shady. Nick and Tao, would you guys be willing to be in the splash zone?
Sure.
Awesome. Uh, Nick, your name is between M and Z.
Hmm.
So can you help me make a data viz?
Sure. I guess I fit the model first, the later
Okay.
pain model.
Yeah.
LM or model uh arrow LM later pain tilde condition data equals ER. Um
Awesome.
and then I plotted the data, so GF underscore I use GF jitter.
Choice.
Later pain tilde condition data equals ER.
Same code.
Yeah, and then I just set width to 0.1. That's I guess what it was before or
Yeah.
below. And then percent sign greater than percent sign, and then skip a line, tab GF model, and then model.
Awesome. And I'm just
Yeah.
gonna put a color on this, turquoise,
Okay,
just so it matches the grass above. And
cool.
I feel very proud that I learned to spell turquoise just for this occasion. So we definitely see boop, the dog condition has a little bit lower pain, not a little bit higher pain. And if you guys wanted to, you could add on just GFB or GF coef, coefficients, you know. Um, if you want to add that on, you can. So it's like a little bit lower. And so, Nick, which was the real Slim Shady?
Was it 6?
You're right, it was 6.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Nick, for helping me
Mhm. Of
with pain. Is
course,
there
anytime.
somebody who has a first name between A through L that wants to help me with anxiety?
I'll do it.
Ah, thank you, Elijah.
Yeah, sure.
I'm just gonna copy and paste this above, and I'm gonna call this, I think I'll just call this condition model. Okay, what would I change in Nick's beautiful code?
Let me see. So anything that says later pain, change that to later anxiety. So just change the word pain to anxiety and everything should work just fine.
Yep, and I'm also going to change my model out. And I'm for funsies, I'm gonna make it purple just to match my graphs above. All right. So yeah, you see later anxiety. And Elijah, did you figure out which was the real Slim Shady above?
Yes. Number 6. It's the one that
Number
I
6.
predicted originally.
Yeah, right. Okay, so in the case of anxiety, were we able to, pick out the data? Was it significant to our eyeballs?
I was able to
Yeah.
just
I mean,
because
as a group, I think we largely agreed that it was, if it was significant, it was six, you know? So, yes. At least out of these nine, like how frequently does something like the empty model or a random DGP, how frequently does it produce something as extreme as our data?
I would say low.
Yeah, because none of the other ones really look like this one, right? So, let's say it's like low frequency. We're just eyeballing here. We're trying to build up intuition. And now, Elijah, I want to change you to from thinking about frequency to likelihood, right? Like low frequency means what for likelihood? How likely is it that the empty model would produce data as extreme as our data?
Not very likely.
Yeah, not very likely. So you guys see how I'm actually building up your intuition for p-value right here? Like we're not talking about p-value, but that's the I'm slipping in the definition of p-value, just like right in there. And let's go all the way. Like just based on these little data, just these little nine, do you think the empty model is the DGP that produced our data?
No.
And that's all the way to like rejecting the null hypothesis, right? So you see that this is all like just intuition, no numbers, we're just eyeballing, just trying to build it up. And Nick, if I could come back to you, let's talk through these. Yeah.
Sure.
So was that the one that we all picked out?
I think for the second
Oh,
one,
we
we
picked
all
number
picked the
five.
middle one. Yeah.
Right.
So no.
Yeah. So we picked five. It was actually six, right? Um, and how frequently does the empty model produce data as extreme as ours? Like, do any of these look
Um,
kind of, maybe we could at least pay attention to how big that arrow is.
right. Yeah. I guess two out of eight, 1/4, right?
I would actually say maybe this one too, right?
Oh no, yeah, I was thinking that one, and then the number six was like our
Oh, right, right, right.
right,
Yeah.
yeah,
So it's not like super frequent, but it's like not infrequent,
right.
like two out of eight or three out of nine, depending on how you want to count it, right? So how likely is it that the empty model would produce data as extreme as our data?
I guess not unlikely.
Yeah. So not unlikely. Our students would say, that's a little bit likely. Like
Mhm.
most of them would phrase it more like that. Yeah, but that's the idea. Do you think the empty model could have been the DGP that produced our data?
I guess it's more possible than for later anxiety.
Yeah, I guess it's more possible. Yeah, that's fair. Great. So you guys see how we're trying to build up your intuitions just in this very kind of intuitive. You don't necessarily need to know p-value or stats or any of that stuff. You could kind of see the kind of intuitions we're doing. And these four questions, we are really trying to build up in baby steps these things. We're trying to connect frequency to likelihood because that's a jump that students often experience. They feel like, oh my God, like all of a sudden you're bringing in probability. You weren't talking about probability, and all of a sudden you're talking about probability. And we want people to have this experience where they feel like, oh, frequency is very much connected to probability. Okay, and can we give Nick and Elijah a hand? Excellent job.